I'm here with Eddie McGuire, who is running for District 1 Commissioner in Marshall County. Eddie, how are you today?
I am better than I deserve.
Feeling pretty blessed?
Feeling blessed. We're getting close. We're getting down to the end. We've done some early voting, but we're looking forward to Tuesday evening. I think it's going to be a barn burner. So.
It's going to be close, I feel. And there's a lot of great issues that have been brought up. You guys are head-to-head on a lot of things. Haven't had a chance to hear him speak at any of the forums, but you've been there.
Yeah, and that's been, I wish he would have been there. That way we could go back and forth, and that way the voters can see that. But for whatever reason, he's chosen not to go to those forums. And hopefully the voters will see the transparency there, the willing to go to those forums and, put my platform out there for them to make that decision. So
sure. So tell me, you respect Justin Lamb. You've mentioned that a few times.
Yeah.
I know there's been some stuff about some mudslinging, but I haven't seen that from your campaign.
Right.
I've looked for it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Kind of touch on that a little bit. How does that?
Yeah, and I've got great respect for Justin. He's a good man. However, I just had to make that decision coming up that, we just needed a little bit stronger leadership on the fiscal court. And, to stand up against any future wrongdoing that may come our way as Marshall Countyans. We've had a rough 4 years here this past term, and we just need someone to stand up for the right thing, regardless of whether it's comfortable or not. So, but, I love him to death, but yeah, we just, I feel like we just need a little bit stronger leadership there.
What is stronger leadership in this sort of thing? Over the past 4 years, we've seen some moments where we've even had public outcry at the court square. So tell me what stronger leadership means.
Let's go back to 2020. During the school resource officer debate. Had I not ever had that confrontation with Judge Neal back in 2020, we would more than likely still not meet the requirements of Senate Bill 1, which is to have at least one school resource officer in every school. But sometimes you got to stand up at your own peril sometimes, and it's not comfortable, it's not easy, but the big thing is to me, the school resource officer issue was a no-brainer issue. But yet we still had to have, if you'll remember looking back, you may have even been there back in 2020. We all met before the final budget workshop to vote our budget in place. The court square was full of teachers and students that had to rally to secure one vote, and that one vote was Commissioner Lamb's vote. We knew Monty Collins was going to vote for it, or I knew Monty Collins would support it and vote for it, and Kevin Spragg's was certainly going to vote for it. I believe he probably made the motion for it, but it just takes a strong leader to stand up in those difficult times. And regardless of whether it should have been a difficult time or not, that's something that is time gone by. But we shouldn't have had to fight tooth or nail for that, but we did. And I just feel like Lamb should have stood up earlier and say, hey, this is an issue this is not going to be a last minute issue. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to fight for our kids, and I'm going to fight for our kids' safety. And unfortunately that didn't happen, and that kind of started the wheels turning for me. I can do more good on the fiscal court even than I can as sheriff sometimes. And just as those, as the years gone by, it showed itself more and more to me as, we went into 2021, especially through the coronavirus in 2020 and 2021, through the tornado, through first responder issues with radio communications. I can do good on the fiscal court because I believe it's a talent that I believe I've been gifted as far as from a budgeting standpoint and just standing up for what's right.
So I want to talk about that a little bit as far as your experiences with budgeting and fiscal matters, that sort of thing. What is your experience with that, and why are you a better candidate than Justin? Do you have more experience than he does fiscally?
I feel like I do. I run here as your sheriff. I mean, I ran around a 45-man agency, being on the fiscal court, you may tweak the budget a little bit, but the judge executive actually makes the budget and the commissioners kind of tweak it back and forth. But I've had to build budgets from the ground up, and that makes a huge difference when it comes to building a county budget. I would certainly be glad to, I feel like we should have budget committees with maybe 1 or 2 commissioners on there and other members of the community to have input like that. And we used to have those things, but we no longer do. We don't see a budget until, it's time to start budget workshops.
When did that change?
I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I believe.
Interesting. So speaking of budgeting, you're not the only person doing a budget, and you're not the only, even as a whole,
right.
The county's not the only people doing a budget. People are doing budgets in their home right now. Things are going up so much. I know the other day I went and bought groceries, and I think, I bought over $120 and there was nothing, to it. Everything's gone up so much. Inflation, I was looking at different percentages, things like that. It's wild. And
you
so
can literally put the grocery cart up and pack your groceries out at $100 now.
It's horrible. And so people are having to budget. And I noticed that one of the things Justin talks about quite a bit is lowering taxes, which would help people's budgets, lowering taxes. That would be an awesome thing. Talk about that a little bit. What's the reality of that situation?
I like to, and that's one of them. I'll just be a little blunt about it. It doesn't sit well with me. This past year's tax went from a 0.094% to a 0.092% on your real estate tax bill. Now, what does that mean for the average homeowner? If you have a $200,000 house, that means you saved $4.
Which is 30 cents a day, something like that.
This year, yeah. You save $4 this year, and I'm not knocking that. That's a good thing, but let's hear the rest of the story. Let's tell me what you've added to my plate, what you're taking out of my pocket, just as much as what you are trying to convince me that you're putting back into my pocket. Let's look at the 2019 budget. Justin made the motion to approve the $1.9 million 911 budget. We've all heard about the 911 controversies. He made that motion to do that, and that over doubles that budget. In 2019 that budget was $850,000 roughly, and to make that motion to raise it to $1.9 million was for the purpose to justify what we've talked about this whole campaign is a new 911 fee of $84 per year. That's going to come out soon from your electric bill. It's going to come out at $7 a month right now if we don't make changes in this upcoming election. And
$7 is a lot harder to find right now than it was even this time last year.
Yeah, you save me $2, $4, $6 a year, but you're costing me $7 a month.
Right.
So you're doubling what some folks pay to the fiscal court now. And I feel like that, don't mislead me. Shoot me straight. Don't tell me about lowering taxes. If I was an incumbent right now and I was sitting in one of those seats, no way would I even bring that up, because I would think any competent opponent would bring up the fact that, hey, we're taking more money than ever before out of your pocket and at a fast rate. So
But there seems to be a bit of a budget surplus in some places. I know there's talking about a $2 million surplus for the county as a whole. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we hear during budget seasons how money's tight. We don't have money for this or that, or for cost of living raises for our employees. We have dilapidating infrastructure. We just, we've gotten quotes for upgraded 911 infrastructure as far as the radio communications that our police, our fire, EMS, our rescue squad. We've got dilapidated mechanical infrastructure at the jail. And that's huge. We're sitting on a ticking time bomb at the Marsh County Jail right now. When the place was built, there was 3 boilers. In a bigger commercial setting, instead of having a heater at your house, we have boilers, use water to heat, and use water, and we use those same boilers to heat the water over at the jail. Well, 2 of the 3 of those aren't functioning anymore. So if you have one more boiler go out, you don't have any hot water and you don't have any heat, which the heat may not be that big a deal right now, but it will be this winter. And you would have to move those folks all the jailer would have to move them all to different jails because we wouldn't be able to provide them the basic necessities that they need, and that would cost us thousands of dollars a day. So you tell me on one hand that you have $2 million in surplus, but yet we don't have the basic needs from an infrastructure standpoint, and it's bothersome. It really is. I mean, I live on a budget. You live on a budget. If I needed a new roof on my house right now, and I had $25,000 in the bank, I had enough to pay for that roof. Yet there was a hole in my roof bad enough that it's leaking into my bedroom and it's ruining my floors. What good is that $25,000 or $30,000 in the bank doing if you're not going to use it to fix the dilapidated roof? And that's kind of where we're at right now. This is not to be disrespectful, but this is common sense stuff. We've got enough, and one of the most disturbing things is we've got enough to pay cash for a new emergency responder radio system from the quote I received a year and a half ago. All of this talk about new systems, we need upgrade systems. That's a huge safety issue for our police, fire, first responders, and with $2 million setting in our coffers, my quote was only $350,000 to provide us a new system. It just doesn't make sense to me that we would play Russian roulette, if you will, with our officers' lives when we've got the money to fix it now.
Well, here's my thing on that, though. I was told that it was your responsibility, not the fiscal court's responsibility, to get that fixed. That seems to have been a statement that's made several times, very publicly.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the ball's in your court, then why hasn't it been fixed yet?
Right, exactly. And I'll go back to the statement. The rest of the story is that 911 and the fiscal court has management control over those radio towers. You'll see on Facebook the sheriff has control of the radios. Well, the sheriff has control of the walkie-talkies and the car radios, but that's not the issue. We could use the radios that we have right now and be just fine. It's like and I'll use the example of a cell phone or a cell phone tower. You can have the newest iPhone, but if your cell phone tower doesn't work, if you're in Possum Trot and you don't get good Verizon signal, it doesn't matter what kind of phone you have. If the tower doesn't work, you've just got a lead weight. And it's it's disheartening because the towers are what we need to be fixing and correcting and basically replacing and upgrading. So, and like I say, we've got the cash to do that. I'm not all for depleting reserves, but that's something that we should have taken care of. We're coming up on the 4th year of our term. We're coming up on, we're on election time again, and this has been an issue since I first came into office in 2019. So,
is that something you're hearing a lot about as you're knocking on doors? People are concerned about our first responders?
I will be honest with you, not as much as I would like, but I think it's because most of our county, they don't call the police but 2 or 3 times in their lifetimes. But this issue is an issue worth discussing, politics aside.
I think the community show that you would see when or if an officer was killed because of this would be unfortunately huge. And I think that they don't realize how much it would impact them as you're going door to door.
Right. Yeah, if you could remind them about, we've lost troopers in our area.
Or even when Brandon had his wreck,
Deputy Little had a wreck. Had he not, had we not had good radio communication, the outpouring of support.
That's exactly it.
For Brandon when he had that crash.
Yeah, I think we live in a community that cares about its first responders, and I think it's important that you're bringing this issue to the forefront because a lot of them just don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's not that they don't care. I think it's that they don't know.
So what issues are you seeing as you're going door to door and you're talking to people? What are people bringing to your attention?
The neat thing is that it's different in every area. You can knock in Benton and it's about, why should we have to pay for 911 when we're already paying for 911 on the county level?
Which Justin voted.
Which Justin wants to know why the city hasn't ponied up. Well, it's not about the city government and the county government. It's about the people.
Right.
You know, let's not run a campaign on I'm for the people if I'm not focused on the people. The people of the city of Benton pay county taxes, and they fund 911 just like someone who lives in Draftonville or out in Palma. But so therefore, in my opinion, the city of Benton shouldn't have to use twice the money that you would pay just because you pay city taxes and county taxes. You know, you pay those city taxes for those extra services that you get in the city. You get a different police department that can respond much quicker than a sheriff's deputy could if we were in Possum Trotting needing to get into you, you know, over in Marywood.
Sure.
You know, those are the things that you pay extra for. You get no more if we had to, if the city of Benton had to pay $150,000 to the county every year for 911, the citizen benefits no more for that. That was just $150,000 that's wasted.
No return on their investment.
And no return for that.
Sure.
And they get that confused because other areas around, I'll use Paducah for example. Paducah City is in charge and they own the 911 center there. So it is different. If you live out in Lone Oak, you don't pay for 911. So that's why the county chips in and pays the city, because the county residents aren't paying city taxes. But here it's reversed. The city residents are paying county taxes. So, you know, it's a lot to digest, but
out in Aurora, are you hearing something different?
Aurora
issues?
feels forgotten. Aurora and Hardin, they feel forgotten. Infrastructurally, economic development. You know, Southwest 1 is good, but over the past 3 or 4 years, we've had to invest so much to get that off the ground. I feel like maybe some of the other areas, especially in my district, District 1, you know, from Hardin to Aurora, they kind of feel like they've been, you know, left on an island a little bit. And Aurora, to me, is one of the biggest hidden gems in this part of the country. I mean, you have a ton of lakefront property. You've got Ken Lake Marina. You've got amphitheaters out there, great restaurants that are developing. It could really be a little Branson if the right folks come in and had the right help from county government and investors, local investors.
And that's what you're hearing out there. That's what they want to see.
Yeah, they just feel forgotten. Then we move over into the West Marshall side. It's a totally different issue. Their issue is potable water. You know, I was speaking to a gentleman who lived just south of, I call it Highway 80, but it's Highway 402 there, Brewers Highway. And he's like, listen, you've got to get us water out here. He said, my well has, I believe he calls it magnesium sulfate. I'm not a chemist, so I don't know exactly, but that and iron with all that buildup, he said, I've had to replace all the copper in my house because it was corroded so bad, and my water heater, I had to change it all over. He said it cost me several $1,000 because the well that I have, you know, is not quality water. So you got folks out there that are begging for potable water. The Hauser Road, Banzor Road, everything. You know, I had one guy say, I'll take a bumpy road if you can just get me potable water.
Wow.
So it's very top of the list. And we go back to that $2 million surplus. Some of that could have been pushed towards potable water to help with investments, write grants, do whatever. Let's hire some folks if we need to. I mean, grant writing is something that I think that probably needs to be refocused in the next 4 years.
I'm not sure there's anybody on the fiscal court that has great writing experience.
I'm racking
really
my brain right now,
yeah.
and I don't see, nothing's popping up in my brain. I know Josh Tubbs
Sure.
wrote some grants as economic development, but he's no longer here. You have folks, you know, several folks. We had a lot of turnover in our department heads. Almost every department head has changed in the last 4 years.
Why is that?
I think the opinion would be different if depending on who you ask. But since you're asking me,
I am asking you.
And I believe it's a leadership issue.
Yeah.
You know, we have an entirely new treasurer's department, not just the treasurer, but the entire office left at roughly the same time. and that was huge. I mean, the
Sure.
folks coming in were behind the eight ball. We should have hired someone as soon as our last treasurer announced that she was retiring. We should have been on the ball and let's hire somebody now
Right.
and get them in there and get them trained. We're on our second road department superintendent. We're on our third emergency management director. We're now without an economic director. Second parks director. Just about every office has changed. And I'm probably forgetting one or two. 911. We're on our second or third one just since I've been in office.
Right.
Maybe our second. I think LaDonna had just got there when I took office. But yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of turnover, and it's really hard to catch traction.
Sure.
It's really hard to train those leaders and to
find people that are qualified.
Yeah,
that takes
really
a lot of qualifications to lead those sorts of departments.
Yeah. People have to feel safe, and they have to feel respected in their.
Do you feel like that's been
roles.
an issue with hiring for the sheriff's office, even bringing in good
absolutely.
deputies?
Yeah, with us being in the news, as much as we are, that's a big concern that folks have when they come in and put in an application. They're like, you guys are always in the news for this or that, and it really does. And who it hurts is the citizens. We probably lost out on at least a handful of really good applicants because they just didn't want to deal with that political undertone that we've had over the last 4 years. But the good news is we got a chance to fix it.
And that's what I want to talk about is good news. So let's, look ahead. You get in office.
Yeah.
You've got 100 days in front of you. What are the biggest things you're going to focus on within that first, 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, the first one's an easy one for me. I mean, I think in the first 100 days, we can do RFPs for the new radio upgrades.
What's an RFP?
Quotes.
Gotcha.
We'll get quotes, estimates. Once certain things in the county cost so much, you have to give everybody a fair chance to bid on it. We go through that. Let's get that process started in the first 90 days. I've heard from just about, obviously folks have to speak anonymously because they're scared of getting in trouble, but from just about every department in the county that our county employees just don't feel respected and appreciated. Several of our departments are underpaid. You got jailers, 911 dispatchers. We've got this talk about all this inflated budgets, but it's not cycled over into salaries, which is where it probably should have started.
Neighboring departments are getting raises. You're going to start losing.
Even at the sheriff's office. Yeah. We got some salary corrections last year, but everyone else got salary corrections last year. And you look at state police; they just got $15,000 per trooper across the board, and they're going to be blowing us out of the water by $10,000 a year.
So is that something on your radar? It's
going to be hard to retain. Especially our young, bright, upcoming officers. If they can, are they going to come here and make $46,000 or $47,000 a year when they can go to state police and make $59,000 or $60,000 a year? So. It's going to be a lot. It's going to take us a year and a half to really get our feet back on solid ground. But we've got to have a court that's willing to fight those battles and to make those tough decisions and to correct the things that we've done wrong. That's the big thing.
Is it too late to turn the Titanic away from the iceberg?
No,
is it too late, or are we seeing it in time?
I think so, just in time. We're almost there. I think this Tuesday will tell us where we're going over the next decade and a half.
So you feel like in the next 4 years things could go and really put us in the ground?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a line item. We've increased our debt by $7 million or so in the last 4 years.
Wow.
Plus, we just recently, because of the tornado, took out a $15 million line of credit. So if we don't get, FEMA doesn't recover all of that, reimburse us for all that, then we've got that to pay for as well. So
it sounds like a huge gamble.
What it sounds like. Yeah, the next 4 years could be worse. I don't want our debt to grow. Our debt needs to be smaller.
And you have a plan for that.
Or at least, if you're going to borrow money, and I hate borrowing money, but if you're going to borrow money, let's borrow money on things that have a lifespan more than a chair.
Right.
You know, people, you know, we've heard all about the 911 chair, but part of the issue is not only was it $2,500, but it was bought with bond money, which is borrowed money. So you're going to have to pay for that chair for the next 20 years.
Wow. For
a chair. You know, they spent, you know, and I heard something else, you know, that kind of sparks me. I'm chasing a squirrel, but I heard somebody say, actually it was in a commercial on WCBL today, that they came in $200,000 under budget on the 911 upfit. The 911 upfit was $2.5 million just for the equipment inside of it. The equipment inside of 911 costs more than the entire building to build. You built the whole building for $1.9 million. And to say that you come under budget at $2.3 million, it would be like me just inflating my budget here to say, just so I could say that I could come in under budget. And I feel like that's disrespectful to voters. You know, voters need to know the entire truth. Stop giving us a third of the story and just praying to God that we don't dig deeper and try to find the whole truth. And that's what I've tried to make this campaign about, is tell me the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And, you know, I swear to that all the time in the courtroom over the past 20 years. And I'll work extremely hard to make sure the public knows the entire truth over any issue we face on the fiscal court.
So in closing, you've got a plan. You're not just going in and saying, I have the leadership, but let's figure out what things when I get there. You've looked at it. You've looked at the budget a lot, obviously, over the last 4 years. That's one thing you've looked at a lot.
Yes.
So you've kind of figured out some corners that you can clear the cobwebs out of and shine some light and do some things. What is the number one thing, and I've seen that several times, people have asked you that several times, the number one thing that you hope to accomplish? What is your legacy going to be as commissioner?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Hopefully save an officer's life by doing that upgrade on our infrastructure.
And very likely a civilian life too.
Yes. You know, that's what folks, because once they're gone, and you can't get them back. So, I mean, I could talk about money all day long. Money's important. It is a fiscal court. But when you talk about life and death, you know, you only get one chance to get that right, and we got to get that right coming out of the gate. You know, believe it or not, I've took heat for talking about that. You know, why are you bringing that up? It's such, you know, you this and that, and you know, I brought solutions to the table that were just flat ignored. So, and another thing that we can do is we can save some of that 911 fee that's getting ready to go in place, but you got to give us the right court. You've got to put me in there in District 1. I feel like Commissioner Spraggs has got to be your next judge executive, and put us somebody good in the 2nd District to help along with Commissioner Collins, and we can get a lot of good things done. We can get a lot of good things done. We can't afford 4 more years of what we had.
No, for sure.
So
what day is Election Day?
Tuesday.
All right.
May the 17th, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You all go vote. If you can't vote Tuesday, you can vote today, Friday, at the Joe Creason Community Building from 8 to 4:30, and tomorrow, Saturday, from 8 to 4:30. You can go vote without an excuse, no matter where you're at in the county. But by all means, please, if you're, you know, my race is a registered, or is a Republican primary. If you're a registered Republican in District 1, go vote, because this is an election of a lifetime.
All right, Eddie. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys.